hit the other button for the recording, because just in case. And we should be good to go. Alrighty, hello once again everybody. It has been a while as we took the past session off due to spring break and other means, but we are back once again with the Myriacast, episode 4 here. Today joining me is Mason once again. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you doing, Dad?
I'm here, so I mean it's better than class.
Always good.
But today we are talking about difficult video games, primarily hard video games, difficulty, what makes difficult games good, what makes them bad, some experiences we have with them, and preferences towards them. So you can't really talk about difficult video games without jumping right into the modern era's most difficult game series of Dark Souls, self-proclaimed. That sigh tells me that you love this game and you really love talking
I
about hearing Dark Souls
I
and everything.
oh, okay. So I love Dark Souls. I love Dark Souls. I love almost everything from Software. It's like some of my favorite games ever. I don't find them that hard. I think people just go about it the wrong way.
Chris, who refuses to say Dark Souls is a fair and balanced game.
It's it is. It literally okay.
I know.
So Dark Souls is the Castlevania of the modern age. And I say that because they are almost the exact same type of game. They are moody, they're horror games, and they take the route that most video game players would take and make sure you don't take that. They they punish you for plowing through the game. And that's exactly the point of it, is you're supposed to sit there and enjoy it.
And they punish you hard if you do not agree with that system. Holy Toledo.
No, it's literally just like, I'm sitting in a corridor and there's an opening at the end. Probably something around that corridor. Hey, look! There is. Wow. It took me all of 3 seconds to have that thought, but no one seems to have it.
I was more so
They
talking
say
about
that.
the when you do die, because you will die, obviously. There is
Oh,
a
yeah.
learning curve to the game, but the
Well,
natural
maybe
idea,
not in Dark Souls 2.
Scholar of the First Sin makes it a bit tougher, but we'll get
Okay,
into that in a
but I've
bit.
never played Scholar of the First Sin.
I'll explain why that is difficult in a bit, but um, one of the things I just have to train myself to do better when I play these type of games, and I'm gonna factor in Bloodborne to this as well because it is not a Dark Souls game, but it has the similar feel from the same developers and has a
Yeah.
similar gameplay style. So for the sake of this discussion, we're gonna refer to that as a Dark Souls game as well. But
Mm.
yes, it's not a Dark Souls game, Dad. My elitist Bloodborne is its own sequential title of its own variety, but um, besides the point is when you die in that game, because you will die a lot, and learn from it. It's getting back to that point that you were previously. Previous games teach you that if there is no checkpoint, you can probably rush through because you know what to do. You don't rush through in Dark Souls. You take your time again with the same area, and it's frustrating and it's hard to do that. It is hard to pace yourself in moving through the game to get back to a point where you died because you know that you could die at any point getting back there. And you just want to fight that boss again, but you have to teach yourself to be patient or else you will lose all your progression from the previous period, which is a
Uh,
really interesting concept.
I agree with that to an extent. Because like for some areas, yes, you like it is a very long trek between bonfires, but they do it in a I feel like it's I feel like they set bonfires at the perfect length where you are
Yep,
just at the point
or
where you are
shortcuts.
like you are almost dead and you're just about to die and suddenly you can get to a
You're
bonfire
like on
and
like your last like Estus flask use, and you're like, should I go back? Do I keep going? It's that
yep.
constant struggle of, am I far enough along that I'm going to reach a point before I die, or should I turn around, head back, and then just try to make it through with the knowledge I've gained from this progression,
Exactly.
the
And
experience I've
I
gained?
think that's what makes it such a good yet difficult game is it allow like it is not overly difficult and it's not overly unfair. It does its job in that it makes I think that's the best part is that when you find that bonfire after you have been searching for one for so long, Nothing feels better than that. Like
Except for killing
you're
a boss. Killing a
except
boss
for killing
feels
a boss. Killing a
euphoric
boss
in
in that
those
game feels
games.
so good.
Especially, I've heard the Dancer of Port Valley in Dark Souls 3 is one of the,
Oh
or
god,
the
it took.
actually all the bosses in Dark Souls 3 are pretty epic and hard.
They are they that game honestly. For a while, it was. I think it's still in my top 5 games like I've ever played because it's so good.
So
Um,
on the topic of Dark Souls though, let's run down the games and kind of discuss each one of them for what they are. Obviously, Dark Souls 1 was a shock of difficulty to the gaming world. We're used to our
what
platformers and our fighting
wait,
stuff,
whoa,
but
whoa, whoa,
whoa.
whoa, whoa, whoa!
Oh,
You're
I
missing
forgot
one.
Demon Souls. Demon Souls, you're right.
There we go.
Demon Souls is
Um,
the hidden gem of the bunch because not many people talk about it, but
it's
it is a
Demon
painful
Souls is
game.
weird. Demon Souls is
It is
weird
weird.
because, for one, it's not like Dark Souls where you have the Estus flasks. It's a
Not as
and
flashy.
it's not as flashy. It's not you don't have the Estus flasks. It's all like singular use healing items, and it's broken up into like you have a main hub, and then you have separate areas that you go to. So it's a little different, and it's a little weird. It's also, I think, the hardest out of all of them because it's the only one that out of all of them that I have not beaten yet.
Really.
Really, I've had difficulties with it, but then again, I didn't play a whole too lot of it. Also, I was very used to playing Dark Souls 3 when I got it, so
Okay.
that might have attributed to it.
I would say I've never played Demon Souls, but my first experience was I watched a YouTuber, SSOHPKC, one of my favorites. He is on a hiatus again, and it hurts. But he played through Dark Souls on his channel a couple times. He played through it and then did New Game Plus as well. He also did Demon Souls, Dark Souls 2, Dark Souls 3, Bloodborne. He came off a hiatus and now he's back on a hiatus. But
Hmm.
he's one of my favorite YouTubers for his sarcasm and stuff, but his gameplay through these series is what really got me interested in it. I looked at his game of Dark Souls 1 and I'd heard about it being this just super difficult game. And we watch someone that knows what they're doing in that game, it's actually not that bad of a game, right?
No, it's really not. Like,
Because I haven't played Demon Souls, like that game is as about tells you where to go as it's easier knowing where to go than the other games because it basically is like here's level 1, here's level 2.
it railroads you, and it's broken up into levels. It's not as open world as the others are.
The other ones are like go ring 2 bells. One's up high, one's down low. Oh,
Figure it out from there.
but not that down low. If you go down low in this area and you go to the Tomb of the Giants, you can't progress because you'll just die.
Yeah.
Because the game forces you to die at a certain point in there.
Yep.
Um,
Because you can't get past Pinwheel. I don't believe.
I thought you could get past Pinwheel. It's just
No, you can
you get to the Four Kings and you can't enter because you don't have the ring.
That's New Londo.
Is that New Londo?
That's New
The
Londo.
New
New
Londo
Londo is
ruins?
where the Four Kings are. Tomb of the
Oh, okay.
Giants is where Nito
In
is.
the Abyss. Oh, okay, that's right. Because you can't unlock him yet. I think
Yep.
it is Pinwheel then. That's the Pinwheel doesn't appear, I don't think, or something like that.
No, he doesn't. It's just a random crypt.
But essentially, in Dark Souls 1, my first experience was really pleasant actually because I knew where to go most of the time and I was using a guide to figure out where to go. But it's still
Mm.
difficult and it still took a lot of effort to keep slugging through. Like I knew to kill the shopkeeper to get the Uchigatana early on and use that because its dex base was really easy and it was the easiest of the fighting style classes to use with like a shield.
I I remember the first time I played through Dark Souls, I I found out that I was just really into like a just hit and then go, like hit once leave kind of play style. So
Just
I
pick away
used
at them.
so I used the Lightning Zweihander +5 by the end of my game.
I'll use the Zweihander from the beginning.
The Zweihander, which if you don't know, if you've never played Dark Souls, the Zweihander is the biggest weapon in the game. It literally clips through most hallways because it's so large.
Two-handed sword, isn't it?
It's the biggest two-handed greatsword, and it's literally like even if your character model is the tallest it can be, it is twice the size of your character model.
Interesting enough, you can actually get it right off the start of the game as well, because it's in
Yeah,
the
it's literally
it's in
in
Firelink.
it's in Firelink. It's in the graveyard below Firelink.
Yep.
But
And it also only requires like I think 18 strength or something. Pretty low.
something like that. But it scales really well with strength, and that's the big part of it. It's not like the Dragon Tooth, which is literally just a giant. It's literally just a tree.
The best.
But
So essentially, though, Dark Souls 1, pretty difficult game. It's one of the, I'd say it's probably, I have not finished Dark Souls 3, but it's probably, and I've never played Demon Souls, but between those 3 games, I'd say that one's, depending on whether you know where to go or not, might be the hardest. Obviously, Dark Souls 3 bosses would have something to say about that.
I say I'd say overall, Dark Souls 3 bosses are the hardest out of the series, but Dark Souls 1 is the hardest overall like aside from Demon Souls. Out of the Dark Souls series, saying Dark Souls specifically just for Dark Souls. Dark Souls 1 has the hardest overall game because the world is less forgiving than all of that.
It also doesn't tell you anything about where to go. It is
No, you
very,
just kind of
very,
have to
very
like
open.
figure it out. Which
Oh,
honestly, I really enjoy.
the one thing I did hate was the number of hidden walls,
Yeah, there are a lot of hidden walls.
which just
give
I
you
think
that.
is a bad design for a sense of like, first off, there's no clues. The game doesn't tell you they exist at all, and one of them is almost necessary to grind well in that game. Like I knew a really good grinding spot from the playthrough I watched, which was in the forest.
Dark Root Basin or
Yep.
Dark Root Gorge.
Well, because there's a secret bonfire behind the wall. You go in and kill
Yeah,
those
and you
guys, get about like
need that
10,000
bonfire.
souls, and
To
just
be
go back to the
fair,
bonfire, respawn them.
they do show like you can see the bonfire because you can see the glow from it. Like while you're walking up to
You
it,
get to
it's
like
just
turn the camera.
yeah. It's just the issue of, if I don't know hidden walls exist in this game. Also, one of the ones that does really bother me is getting to Ash Lake. Because Ash Lake,
In the tree.
so
Also,
if
preview
you've
right
not,
now. I'm gonna say a lot of spoilers for these games.
yes,
But
sorry.
quick tidbit, by the way. Keep going.
Oh, to get to Ash Lake in that game, first of all, you have to go to Blight Town, which is
3
the
FPS
worst
still.
area in that game.
Hopefully, it's better on the
The
Switch.
worst area because it's poison damage and you also get 0 FPS.
Please be better on Gen 4 consoles, please.
Oh,
Please, from software, don't make it the PC port where it's actually worse. until the difficulty version, whatever you want to call it. I forget what it's called.
Yeah, just the remastered.
No,
Or Prepare to Die.
Prepare to Die edition.
Yeah.
That's you do. You are prepared.
So yeah, with Ash Lake, what happens is you get to Blighttown, and on the far side of it, there's a tree. It's a giant tree, and if you walk up one of the roots, you'll go into this little like opening, and there's a chest. Now most people would see the chest, and it's up against a wall, and think, this is just a chest, neat, and walk away. No, if you roll past the chest,
Not swing,
that
roll.
wall is fake. Then there's a ladder going down, and then there's another chest, and then a wall. And you're like, all right, cool. This is just a hidden chest. No, that wall behind that chest is also hidden.
By the way, I think aren't these some of the only walls in the game you have to roll into, not swing?
Yeah.
Yeah, because usually you can swing and it'll break the hidden wall. No, these ones you have to roll through, because why would you be consistent?
Yeah.
And is that a necessary area or no?
It's not a necessary area, but it is necessary to complete Sigmire's questline.
Sigmire, oh my god, he's the best.
Onion Bro!
Onion Bros, and then Solaire is like top 2 probably.
Also, just an aside, I can't wait for Solaire of Astora to be a playable character in Smash for Switch.
To be an amiibo? He's gonna be an amiibo, you know that, right?
Oh yeah, I know.
That is super hype. So moving on from Dark Souls 1 though, the baby brother of the series, Dark Souls 2, often seen as the easiest of the series.
I very much do not like Dark Souls 2.
Now, as someone who's gotten pretty far in that game, but again, I've not completed any game besides Dark Souls 1 at the moment, but I played through a decent chunk of Dark Souls 2 and a little bit into Dark Souls 3. Dark Souls 2 Star of the First Sin, I think, is a lot more difficult than people believe out of Dark Souls 2, for the reason that, based off how I play the game, they made it more difficult for players like me. Mason, please go ahead and explain why you hate Dark Souls 2, though, and I'll get into that after.
So the reason why I dislike Dark Souls 2 is, for one, I I dislike it more now that Dark Souls 3 is out, because Dark Souls 2 is just kind of a random aside. It it doesn't follow the same story that Dark Souls 1 does, or 3. Um and it's in a different it's in a different country. Some people speculate that it's still in the same area, same country as Dark Souls 1. It's just way in the future. I don't subscribe to that theory. That's just me. But what really bothers me about Dark Souls 2 is it just feels flat. And it feels like there's no like real care put into it. It's just like, all right, well, let's we can't really think of a boss. Let's have you fight the pursuer. Cool. This guy's cool. Let's bring him back 3 more times.
Star of the First Sin makes him worse, by the way. I'll get into that as well.
Oh god. And also the fact that you can that after 12 times of beating an enemy, it just despawns. I feel like that is a very dumb way of being able to make the enemies harder while not actually increasing the difficulty of the game. I think it's
just under.
Yeah. It's really dumb. Plus it makes it so that you can't grind as well, which I get.
Or if
I
you die during
understand why they didn't
grinding,
want
does
people grinding.
it reset if you die, or does it just say, "Oh, you're out of XP"? It's bad.
Yeah, pretty much. It's just like, well, no, you can use a bonfire
Oh,
ascetic
that's
to
right. Reset.
make. Basically, it sets all the enemies in a specific area to a new game plus level,
Which
and then
also does it for bosses.
each one adds another plus.
Interesting. I know that's in the speedrun they actually use those on the Rotten to reset the boss fight and grind XP on him.
Yeah,
For
I
endgame.
remember that.
Really impressive, by the way, to beat that boss when you're getting 2-shot.
Yeah, and especially because walking around that arena will kill you.
Yeah, toxin, by the way. Haha. Not poison, toxin.
It's
Haha.
not even just poison; it's toxic, which kills you faster.
Yep. But at least it's not as bad in Dark Souls 2. Which,
Yeah.
another thing about Dark Souls 2, they made it a lot more forgiving with some things. In Dark Souls 1, if you got toxined and you didn't have a blooming purple moss clump, not just a purple moss clump, a blooming one, because that's the only way
Yeah,
to
it
get
had
rid
to
of
be
that,
blooming.
you just die. Because your health drains so
Which
fast, and that status effect lasts so long that it doesn't even matter if you have like maxed out health, you'll probably still die to that one toxin. Unless you have like
Yeah.
20 Estus flasks at like +6 or 9 on like New Game Plus, where things don't last as long. You have like Toxin resistant armor. Like Toxin was actually the worst status effect, I'd say, above
Oh yeah.
Curse, solely because Curse is
Curse
really hard to
brought
actually
down
get
your max
cursed.
HP by half.
It halved your max HP and instantly killed you.
Yep.
Dark Souls 2 it instantly killed you, but only you lost the HP for the life regularly, I believe.
Yeah, like Dark Souls. That was another thing that I didn't like about Dark Souls 2 was the fact that
You lose
each
HP on
time you
death.
hollow worked differently, and I didn't like how the hollowing worked.
Is it hollowing? It's hollowing in all games, right? With
It's
Dark
hollow.
Souls.
Yeah, you become a hollow again.
Yeah,
But
so
the issue with that is with how you became a hollow in Dark Souls 1,
you
it was
lose
like
resistances.
you cannot call upon assistance for other either NPCs or other players,
You
which
also
was
lost elemental resistances, I believe, when you were hollowed.
yeah, I think a few of them.
You got some stuff shredded.
Yeah, but with Dark Souls 2, what happened was you just kind of lost some of your max HP until you eventually got down to 50% of it, or 75% with a certain ring. But if you used if you used it wasn't an Ember.
Ember was
No,
Dark
it
Souls
wasn't Ember.
3. It was Souls were Dark Souls 2. Or
Yeah,
Humanity was Dark Souls 2. Was it Humanity in
No,
Dark Souls
humanity
2
was
as
Dark
well?
Souls 1.
That's what I meant. Was it Humanity in Dark Souls 2 or what was it?
I don't remember. There was something that made you not hollow
That
again.
type of item that made you unhollow
Yeah,
would reset
and
it.
then it would just reset it. Also, you could kill a boss.
Oh, effigies. Life
Yeah,
effigies.
human
Or human
effigy.
effigies.
Yeah, that's what it was. And like it was just it didn't do as much. And it I don't know, like it just didn't do anything to like because being hollow in that universe is such a big deal. It's like you're literally becoming brain dead. You're becoming a zombie. And in like
You lost your humanity.
yeah, you've lost all humanity that you have. And in Dark Souls 2, it was just like, oh yeah, this is the thing that we did.
It's still here, kinda. So rant aside, reason why I say Scholar of the First Sin is a lot better as like of a player perspective in terms of difficulty, because Dark Souls 2 is not by any means nearly as difficult as Dark Souls 1. There's a lot more direction. The gameplay feels a lot more forgiving with you having life gems that you can collect, which are healing items, and you didn't have a cap on them really. I think you could hold 20 at once, probably. I think it did cap you on how many you could hold. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think
Similar to
so.
Bloodborne, but I feel like Bloodborne is almost like the Dark Souls 2 done right. But
Yeah,
we can
I,
talk
I
about that
agree with
next.
that, honestly.
Um,
Because that was one of the nice things about Dark Souls 2 was the combat was a lot faster than Dark Souls 1.
I also liked the healing items. I liked being able to have health like on command and be a little bit
Yeah.
more like less gated by bonfires and more gated by like resource management and collection in a sense.
Hmm.
Which obviously like having Estus flasks is a sense of resource management, but it's very unforgiving when you get hit accidentally and you have to burn like half an item that heals three
Yeah,
quarters of your health right away because your health bar would die to two more hits and you don't want to risk that on a boss or whatever because they could do a power attack that one shot you from that health and you lose more than
exactly.
you'd gain. Whereas in life gems, you're like, oh, I have weak life gems and like strong life gems. So I'm getting low here. Let me use a powerful one and then use a weak one when I take like one hit. It was also an interesting mechanic to have it as over time as opposed to instant. Because in Dark Souls
Yeah.
2, you got a chunk of that health and a little bit more over time, I believe.
Mm.
Or it was all over time for some of them. It's been a long time since I touched that game, but I liked that mechanic because it's like, it doesn't mean that you can just chug and tank stuff. You have to actually avoid some stuff, find the time to,
You
chug
have to
essentially,
heal as opposed to
which
get better.
you could also move, but at the same time, some bosses would not let you crush a life gem. It took longer than drinking an Estus flask as well.
And it also well, and crushing a life gem slowed you down for a bit.
Yep. But the reason I liked Scholar of the First Sin and hated it is the difficulty added was not true difficulty in my opinion. They made some of the bosses harder, but one of the most annoying things they did about Scholar of the First Sin that a lot of people won't realize if they don't play the same style as I do, but one of the ways I like to play Dark Souls is a safer route where I will get a bow early and a lot of arrows and be able to leash enemies out of groups, in a sense. Similar to throwing a
Hmm.
pebble at them in Dark Souls 3 or in Bloodborne.
Mm.
You use it to aggro one enemy instead of an entire pack, so you're not getting surrounded and destroyed. Dark Souls 2 said, oh, did you just shoot that one enemy with an arrow? Well, the other four enemies are all aggroed on you now. Too bad. And they would all just come attack you. So it's like you're basically still fighting four people at a time unless you can like get far enough away that most of them de-aggro except for like the one you hit with the arrow and stuff, or you just sit far enough away that you can just arrow them to death, which is really really boring. Um,
Yeah. See, I've never actually found use for bows in those games aside
that's
from getting the Drake sword.
that's one of the biggest uses is to leash enemies away from packs, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Another thing that was annoying about Dark Souls 2 is that pursue enemy that you hated fighting. Well,
Yeah.
now in random areas across the map, he just appears as a shadow pursuer, and you have to either run or fight him. And he is still full strength. And he scales with you. So he will still three-shot you later in the game. And when you're in the middle of an area and halfway through progressing to a bonfire, you're about halfway because, you're about half your Estus flasks, you can feel it. It's been like half an hour of moving. He'll just appear and you'll be like, all right, I'm going to go up this ladder and hide until he disappears so I can actually explore this area. Because I'm not going to fight him for the fourth time because I will die. Because there's no crossbow here to cheese him.
Yeah,
You either parry his
down
attack
the
or you die.
ballista.
And parrying in Dark Souls 2 was slightly better than Dark Souls 1, but still very, very, very difficult.
Yeah.
Parrying is by far the hardest thing to do, but also the most rewarding of the
Oh
games,
god, it feels so good to parry someone.
especially on bosses because I mean obviously a lot of them you can't parry. This is in Bloodborne where you can parry 90% of them. But like when you're fighting the Abyss Watchers and you hit the parry and you just chunk him for like a third of his health, it's like, yeah, this is the gratification I need. But that was my main pet peeve with Dark Souls 2. I enjoyed it. I think it did some things right, a lot of things wrong. But moving on to the next game that they released, Bloodborne, they fixed a lot of things about Dark Souls 2 that you liked and added a lot more fun to it, in my opinion.
I honestly feel like Bloodborne is the most fun out of all of them. I feel like Bloodborne just everyone I've talked to that has played most of the Soul series, they consistently say Bloodborne is their favorite.
Free on PlayStation Plus right now, by the way, for another week.
Yeah.
So get it if you have it. But as someone who just recently downloaded it and has progressed pretty far into the game, you know, I beat Gascoigne. I'm pretty far in, basically done. But from the experience I've had in it so far, it is a lot of fun. It is a lot more fast paced, and it forces you to play aggressive or just lose because
Yeah,
you can't play a slow paced game hiding behind a shield, tanking stuff out. You can tank hits, right? You can build a
there
lot of
are.
vitality and tank hits because you need to tank hits in every Dark Souls game because you're
I
gonna
think
get
there's
hit.
one. I think there's one or two shields in that entire game.
There's one, and I think the description says, "Really, you really want
Yeah,
to use this?"
because you don't like use a shield in that game.
You don't use shields in
You
a hunter world.
no, you are hunting things. You're parrying them by shooting them and taking advantage of that.
Doing a
Also,
visceral attack, not a counter attack or
exactly.
a riposte rather.
Which, by the way, if I may just say, the addition of if you get hit, but you hit them enough and you're able to get your health back, that was such a nice addition. Like honestly, that felt
That
amazing.
that is one of the best parts about it is it rewards aggressive play, right? It rewards
Exactly.
you counterattacking and going on the offensive, not just backing off and healing every time.
Yes.
Because those blood vials heal the same amount no matter where you are in the game, if I remember, right?
Yeah.
I think they increased through some of the medals you get.
Yeah, you can use their like your medals or
And
whatever
they
they are.
might scale with vitality, I'm not sure. I don't know if they always hear that little chunk of health, but
I don't remember. It
I
has
would
been a
assume
while
so
since I
because they
played that game.
cap you at 20. So
I don't
I hope
remember,
it
and I
does.
haven't technically beaten that game, so I don't remember.
Yeah, from the combat I played, it is very fun and fast paced, which leads to a lot more quick decision making. And in
Mm-hmm.
addition, they also gave you a dodge that is consistent. There's no weight load on your character from what I've seen.
No, there is not, which is
Which
super.
means you always have the same dodge speed, you always have the same move speed, and the same, well, not the same attack speed because obviously weapons are different. And there's a
Yeah.
lot more weapon variety because you essentially are forced to have two weapons at all times.
I feel like there's
So
less weapon variety because I used the same weapon that entire game. I used the same weapon.
use the
I
first
think
one.
there's more that you can do with the weapons that you're given.
That's what I mean. There's more like variety in this individual weapon with like it having two forms,
Because
having
there's only like
charged
10.
attacks.
I think there's only like 10 like melee weapons in that game, which yeah, it's a Dark Souls game, so you're gonna have melee weapons, and you're gonna use melee weapons mostly.
They're not gonna use the cannon the whole time.
That's also a trip.
But the Priestess on Bloodborne, again, free right now, so definitely worth a try if you are just getting into Dark Souls and stuff. But the last game, and I believe the last one of Dark Souls that they're making, I think that's what they said, right? This
I
is
don't
the
know.
last one I think they said
They might
is
be.
DS3, which I think might just be the best game in the series of Dark Souls at least, because it
I
does all the
it,
Dark Souls things right.
in terms of Dark Souls 3 and Dark Souls 1 kind of flip for me. I feel like 3 has the most polish on it, but I love how like the story progresses in 1. And by story, I don't just mean the main story. I'm talking also about the side quests because all of the side characters in that game are very well written and well done. I also just love the fact that, like, in any of the games, you get as much story as you're willing to put in. So,
You'll like reading, then you'll like the story. If you don't like reading, you're gonna die
you
a
don't
lot
have to.
anyway, so you don't have to.
If you want to plow through the game, you're more than welcome to. But if you want to go and find all the story, you're also more than welcome to. And boy, is it good.
Please, developers, please allow skippable cutscenes in every game. Please, thank you. Because I don't want to watch the boss animation the 17th time I've died to him.
Yeah.
I know it is you, Anthem. Can we just fight now? Thank you. So, what? How hard is too hard though? What makes the game unfun? What makes any hard game unfun? So moving away from Dark Souls, moving on to some other games. Like,
So I
what are
feel like
what are some games that you play that are just like this is stupid difficult for no reason? Obviously, I want to be the guy fan games. Probably up
yeah,
there.
any sort of those. I feel like see, but those I think are different because they are meant to
Those are
be
designed to be
full.
brain meltingly hard.
Yes, and they're meant to. So my definition of a hard game that is too hard is something where you are expecting the player to do something where they don't have all of the pieces to do it. So, like,
Progressing Dark Souls 1 story?
see, but that's different because of the fact that, like, if it turns you away, but it still has other places. You're like, oh well, there's this place I can go. Like, um, basically, I just feel like if you're not going to give the player all of the tools to do something in a given situation, don't put them in that situation.
It's more of it's difficulty through not having the tools to do what the game wants you to, but still expecting you to do it to progress.
Yeah. Like, okay, so a good example is I have a game on my Steam account called La Mulana. It is quite possibly the hardest puzzle game I have ever played. Because basically what it is you're Indiana Jones. Like, it's not Indiana Jones, but it's totally Indiana Jones. And you're making your way through La Mulana, which is this tomb. And there's multiple different areas and blah blah blah, and they all interact with each other. And it throws you into puzzle situations that you would have no idea how to get out of, and it punishes you for that. Like, for no reason other than you stumbled upon this rock that happened to be like you needed it later, and suddenly you can't do something, or like suddenly you're dead. I don't know. I feel like you need to give players at least a chance before you punish them for something.
You need to let them actually be able to solve the puzzle instead of just being like, you know, that item you forgot a while ago. Yeah, you needed that here, so oh, guess you're
Bye.
screwed. Go back and get it. Bye.
Yep.
See you in an hour and a half or 3
Mhm.
hours.
Exactly.
What's that? This pit that you want to jump into? Yeah, you need a special ring to do that. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, I
You
know.
need to kill a dog in an area that you probably haven't been to because it's really hidden. But yeah, oh well.
Yeah, okay, but if you do the DLC before that, and then you get the good cutscene of Sif realizing that you're not Artorias, and it's sad.
Did you actually do that beforehand?
Yeah.
When did the Artorias DLC before doing the Sith fight? Isn't Artorias
I
like super hard?
yeah.
You're
Artorias is hard. So is not Mugen. I don't think it's Mugen.
an idiot.
I'm not an idiot. I didn't do that the first time. I did that like the fourth time I played.
Uh, God,
I
I haven't gotten to the DLC in that game because I didn't have it on PlayStation 3, and I haven't gotten that far in a PC run because I was doing a
it's
strength
pretty
build,
okay.
and strength builds are kind of hard if you don't know what you're doing in that game.
I didn't know what I was doing and I did it my first time.
Yeah, you
But
did my first time.
I'm bad at dex builds in that game for some reason. I don't know why.
Just
I just am.
use the Uchigatana plus 10 or lightning and just win everything. And then you get
Sure.
the soul of the uh Spider McGee, and then you use her soul and get a sword that gives you
Quelaag. Yeah.
fire damage.
Quelaag's Chaos Sword, yeah.
Has the
I
highest
know
dex
it.
scaling, gives you fire damage, and you get more damage based off how many humanity you have equipped on your
Yeah,
character.
it's good.
It's
I know.
It's not good. It is busted, but
I still haven't used it because I just haven't.
moving away from Dark Souls, what are some of the quintessential hard games people have mentioned that you've enjoyed? Or actually, let's talk about something else I want to say. Can we stop calling things the Dark Souls of X, please?
Yeah, no, it
I'm
bothers
sorry.
me.
Crash Bandicoot is not the Dark Souls of platformers.
No, it's
It is
okay.
difficult because your nostalgia glasses are blinding you. Like, don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
that bridge level is stupid, but it's not difficult because it's the hardest game in the world. It's difficult because you have nostalgia towards how many times you tried at that as a kid and somehow managed to succeed, or mom did it for you.
Yeah, no, okay, so fun fact, Crash Bandicoot 2 was the first game I ever played at 2 years old. Um and I don't know how I beat it back then because I've tried beating it now on the Insane trilogy and I can't. I'm on the last world and I just can't.
I mean, some of those levels are changed, but yeah, it's like, how did we get through these games as kids? I feel like we didn't, but we just pretended like we did because we put the game down. And we're like, I beat it. I beat the first
Mm.
boss. I beat the game, kind of
Oh
thing.
no, I remember fighting Cortex. So like I remember doing it. I just I don't know, like I feel like it was different then. Also I feel like the controls were different and we were used to the controls being different.
Different controller too. PS1 controller was a lot simpler than the PS4.
Yeah.
But how about the Insane trilogy? Is it actually a hard game? Would you say? All three of those.
I I would say Crash 1 is hard because it has different mechanics from the other two that make it more difficult. Also, Road to Nowhere, awful, awful level.
I have tried so hard to get the gold relic on that level.
I can't.
I
I
tried
okay.
so hard.
I was
I think I
playing
did
that
get it. I
game
got it on the first road level. I've not got. I think I'm stuck on the second road level.
the high road. Yeah, the high road's not too bad. Road to Nowhere is the
No, getting the gold relic is hard on the high road
true.
because you basically have to abuse the railing glitch where you can jump on the
Yeah.
rails, and that is so precise and difficult to do consistently that you just want to smash your controller or your
Oh yeah,
face.
no. Um so fun so I was playing the Insane trilogy last semester and I was playing Crash 1 cuz I'd never beaten it before. I had it when I was a kid and it bothered me back then. It was hard back then. So I was like, "All right, well, I'm going to beat it." I had over 100 lives getting into Road to Nowhere. By the time I was finished with Road to Nowhere, I had game overed 4 times,
Sounds about
which
right.
when you game over, you get 5 lives back. So I went through over 125 lives getting through that level. It is such a terrible level. And it's not terrible because it's like hard. It's just not fair because the way that they expect you to do jumps does not work.
Yeah, no, you have to like perfectly time some jumps and like can't just keep moving through the level. You have to like change how you're like moving Crash.
Well,
If you
that and also like there are certain jumps, like especially when you get to the parts where you are jumping on. There are parts where you're jumping on turtles, and you'll jump using their stomachs to jump farther and higher,
and you won't reach it
and you won't reach it. You'll jump at the best possible point from the farthest on the turtle that you'll be, and you just won't make it.
because the turtle's slightly off, or you miss the turtle because you overjump it, and then you just die to the turtle because you hit a hitbox that's broken because
Yeah,
the hitboxes in their game are not accurate either. And oh, on the time trials, they are nightmares. Let me tell you.
yeah,
I do not envy anybody that has to get the platinum relics on those because oh my goodness, you have to be perfect in those levels to get plats. On top of like you basically have to cheat in every single plat relic to get them, as well as hitting every single time block. Um, one of the levels that was the most frustrating in that game of difficulty to get through. I don't remember what it's called, but it's essentially the time trial is like a 3-minute long time trial because it is a
Yeah,
long
which
level, and you have to hit almost every block there. You have no masks. Like I think you get like one mask throughout the entire time,
mm,
and it is a nightmare getting through there because you miss one jump, you lose 20 seconds. You miss it again, well, congrats. Now you're down to a silver relic. Like,
yeah,
sorry. And then it's like, oh, trying to do it again because I need all the gold relics to get the trophy because I'm trying to complete the game and I want to throw it out the window. But
yep.
and then there's
I
the other Dark Souls. No, but yeah. But sorry.
Yeah, I mean, overall, I think one is actually a hard game. Two has hard moments. Three is not difficult. It has difficult portions, but it's fair. One
That's
is not fair. One is not fair
one
by
is
any
just not
standard.
fair at times at all because it
Yeah,
is that classic PS2 or PS1. This is a game from PS1 era. There is no difficulty levels. This is the difficulty. Good luck.
yeah,
Mario 2 esque.
yeah, exactly.
Oh, the other game I'd bring up that is like the Dark Souls of X is the Dark Souls of shooters, which is Cuphead. Because
I
everybody was complaining about how difficult that game was as well, which came around at the same time as the Crash remakes, ironically.
yeah, I enjoyed what I played of Cuphead, but it just like I thought it was okay. It was not my cup of tea.
Ha ha
I
ha ha ha.
I didn't even mean to make that pun,
I'm
but
proud of you.
I've been around you too much.
I know. Go
Uh,
on.
I feel
Cuphead.
dirty. Ugh.
Shush. Keep talking.
I thought it was an alright game. I can see why people liked it. I personally was not a fan. I just whenever I played it, I got a headache, and that's like that generally puts me on a down note for a lot of games. So,
So,
but
why does everyone call it the Dark Souls, though? Like, why do they call these games the Dark Souls of blank? Is it just because that is the current this is a difficult game signifier if it's Dark Souls esque?
I feel like yes. I mean, people know Dark Souls because it's so hard and you die so much, and it's gotten a reputation of this is like the standard for difficulty. And I don't think that's quite actually the case. But the developers I don't think the developers went for that either. But they've kind of taken it and run with it now. So
Where does the
yeah,
difficulty come from then in that game that sets the bar? Just the last point in touching up this is I think it's more of the not just the fact that you die, but more so the fact that your progression can just be lost from dying
yeah,
twice in a row. Like if you die and then you make one mistake on the way back to your death, well there goes all that progression you've had for the last 3 hours and the 30,000 souls, which is like 6 level ups that are just poof, gone. Too
yeah,
bad. And that is
yeah. No,
that is probably the
exactly.
most that is the most put the controller down, shut the game down, we're done for the night moment in that game. Is the when you die and lose a bunch of souls and it's like, you know what? I think I'm gonna take a break real quick. Maybe
I
go punch a hole in the wall. Be back
I think
tomorrow.
I haven't had it quite that bad. I've had it once with Dark Souls, and that was when I was first playing it. I think the one that I've really had with that is with Bloodborne, which was with the final boss, well, quote unquote final boss of it. I'm not going to spoil it because I know you're playing it, but let's just say I I have I've had Bloodborne for close to 3 years now, and I've been stuck on the final boss for two.
That guy that you fight in the stream, the true
Maybe
is that I think he's the true final boss. Is the when you fight the final boss in
there.
the
Well,
stage. In your main hub, you have to fight the actual final boss, I believe.
yeah. Well, okay.
Or is
So
that the one you're talking about, or is it a different one? I just not thinking of right
I'm
now.
stuck on the first of the two because I'm
Not
doing the
not the
true
not
ending.
not the guy in the roof boss or whatever.
No, no, not
Okay,
that one.
that guy's tough too. I've heard,
Yeah, that one was hard.
but you just can't parry him.
Yeah.
And he has lightning AOE. Really cool.
Yeah.
Just has AOE damage constantly ticking once you get him past half health. Fun design right there,
Hmm.
and a long route back to him as well. Unlike Gascoigne, where you take one doorway, move down one hallway, kill 3 enemies, and you're back at the fight.
I still find it funny that earlier you said, "Oh yeah, I'm pretty far into the game. I've beaten Gascoigne," and I just laughed
Yeah,
because
I did about an hour or two. I know that's not even close to the beginning. That
that's like
yeah, that is the
that's the first real boss of the game.
that's the I've downloaded the game and gotten through the tutorial segment.
Yeah, that's the first real boss of the game. That's not anything.
Well, you know it's the tutorial because the game, when you download Bloodborne, it lets you get to a certain point and start playing, and that's the point where it stops you and says finish the download, which is the other half of the game to download. So
Yeah.
so one thing I didn't write down here, but something I thought of while we were talking, is what about artificial difficulty? And by that I mean setting restrictions and stuff on games for yourself. The easiest thing to point to would be, say, a Pokemon Nuzlocke challenge.
Oh, I enjoy those. Um,
Because I
so
think when you're setting difficulty for yourself, you have to really enjoy the game and have to really be interested in making it slightly more difficult. That you can't let that be too difficult for you, right? Because you're setting the restrictions. You're you're putting yourself in this challenge, and you should decide when you should do stuff in that challenge, right?
so
Like all the different
um,
variations of
I
Nuzlocke. That.
I'm just gonna bring this up really quick. The first time I ever played a Pokemon game for me was a Nuzlocke.
Ooh.
So, um, I I I enjoy them because that's all I know of Pokemon.
And there's a lot of variations on them too. There's like sleep locks, which are nightmares. Sleep locks.
Cage locks.
One that my buddy Zetrus did with his buddy that I was going to do, but I didn't get the day off of work, so sad face. It was a sleep lock of Pokemon Crystal, which they only did the first half of it, obviously,
Mhm.
because you can go to Kanto after that, but they stopped, um, intelligently, uh,
Yeah,
because the levels in that game get insane. But
yeah.
they he did end up beating the Elite Four with his last Pokemon, which was rightfully named Dodge, the Typhlosion. Carried him through the game, like you'd expect from me. But what they were doing is every hour or every gym, which like each time one of those progressed, you would draw one of these cards, and they would have good or bad things on them. For example, one of the cards said, "Choose one of your opponent's Pokemon and release them in their party."
Uh,
Obviously,
that's what I
they
like.
didn't release starters because that would be just rude. Like you don't want them to
They
just be screwed. But yeah,
It's like what you can do in cage locks. Cage locks are also great.
so all right with artificial difficulties and
I I,
self restraints.
I think it depends, but yeah, I do.
Level 1 critical Kingdom Hearts. One of my favorite difficult things to do. One thing I like about challenges like that is things that are possible while also challenging, in a sense of level 1 data org, critical mode, Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix, HD, PS4.
So level 1 run of Dark Souls 1.
It is level 1 data org. For those of you that don't know, is in Kingdom Hearts Final Mix, Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix. There's a room called the Cavern of Remembrance, and later in that room there is another room called I forget the name of it, but there's a room with all 13 headstones or tombstones of the organization
Hmm.
from all the various games that you fought, and you can fight each boss fight in this game in this one room. And there's a category
Oh.
to speedrun that, which is to beat all 13 bosses, 14 if you count Xemnas and Final Xemnas, in one go, in one run, as fast as possible at level 1 on the hardest difficulty critical mode. So your health is at 60 health, you have 100 magic, or 120 magic, and you have the level 99 battle level super bosses to fight. The game does a good job with it because it scales your base damages up to as if you were level 40 strength wise.
Okay.
So you're not doing chip damage, but learning the strategies to the speedrun of that and beating those fights and getting the gold crown achievement for it on one of the 3 tiers of gold crown, which are special achievements in that game, is
Hmm.
some of the most difficult, frustrating yet satisfying things to do, especially when you do the speedrun strats for them, because you beat the super boss in under 2 minutes in a fight. It is
Jeez.
absurdly, insanely impressive. If you've never seen the run, definitely go check it out. It's a very short category right now, almost under 20 minutes. I think it's
Oh
like
wow.
2019 is the record on PlayStation 4, which is insane. And
Mhm.
it's one of the most impressive runs you'll ever see. There's a trick that requires you pressing square essentially on like very, very, very tiny frame windows to keep Zigbar staggered. That's a strat they found, and constantly being optimized. Crispy.me has I think the record right now, and he is nuts. But that is one of the most fun, difficult things I've ever done in my life is level 1 crit.org.
All right.
What about you, Mason? What's the most fun, difficult type game you've played?
The most fun difficult game. Like, are you talking about like artificial difficulty thing?
Whatever you think. If it's a Dark Souls where the game is just hard with single difficulty, if it's an artificial, arbitrary difficulty you set on yourself, like a Nuzlocke, what is your favorite like difficult thing you've done in a game? Is if it's beating
Uh,
a super boss in a game?
I really enjoyed. I liked beating the super boss that was in Final Fantasy 15. That was a lot of fun. The Adamantoids. That was interesting. It literally takes like 4 hours. Um, and it's I feel like that's a lot more fun than other Final Fantasy super bosses because you're actually involved and doing something the entire time instead of just yes, acknowledge, attack. Yes, I would like to attack. I would like to attack this enemy. All right, let them take their turn. Like Final Fantasy 15 has the actual like I understand that there are other Final Fantasy games that are like actual like real time combat. It's just 15 was the first one that I played that was like that. So um, but that was a lot of fun. I really liked Dark Souls, and I liked playing Dark Souls New Game +5. That was fun.
At what point does new game get repetitive though? Like new game plus two?
Yeah, like
I think it caps
that
at
is one
plus
thing that
two,
I
doesn't it? But goes
that is one thing that
indefinitely.
I do think 2 did a good job of, which I don't sing the praises of 2 a whole lot, but 2 did a good job of doing plus new game plus really well because it added to the bosses, and it did make the game feel harder.
Does Dark Souls
So,
cap new games? Like I know, isn't Dark Souls one capped after new game plus two, and it just keeps going at the same difficulty after that?
it does. I don't remember honestly.
Don't remember. I know that they're weird with their new game pluses, but yeah, difficult games are fun, but yet sometimes you just really, really don't like your controller afterwards.
I've never broken a controller. I can say that.
I have thrown a controller before in frustration on a fight, Kingdom Hearts. Picked it up and actually beat the fight, ironically, in the same fight because I'd gotten DM'd by a quick story to end it here. But my buddy Zetra, who I mentioned earlier with the sleep block, back when PS3 Kingdom Hearts was a speedrun thing, he did not play two Final Mix. I did, but we had decided really stupid things such as standard and proud all worlds, which if you've never played the PS3 version of 2FM, the load times are so long that the speed runs between PS3 and PS4 are over an hour and a half different just by black screen load times. But so he's like, let's do Proud All Worlds because we done Standard All Worlds, and it wasn't that bad. His words, not me. I wanted to like choke him when he said that during the run. But so we did Proud All Worlds, and GD Jafar is a fight that it's almost impossible to survive at that health when he DMs you because it's just impossible to get him to knock down without getting killed in 2 hits because that's all you had health wise. So I had gotten DM'd by him for like the 5th time and I died the other 4 times and I legitimately threw my controller on the ground and like spiked it, went and picked it up frustratingly and actually managed to survive and beat the fight somehow in that fight, and that was like I hate this game, but I love this game. Let me just finish this run and go to bed. But on that note, that's going to be our discussion on difficult video games today. Thanks again, Mason, for stopping in.
Yeah, no problem. I love doing this.
Be sure to check us out in 2 weeks. Do not know what we'll be talking about. Anywhere between 7 to 10 p.m. is likely when the stream will start Eastern time. So yeah, be sure to stop by and check us out next time. So thanks again for watching. Get hyped for the Myriathon. About 2 months away.
Ooh, yeah.
Ooh. Ah.
No, like, yeah, no, like 3.
Probably getting a board meeting soon to figure out a game schedule. So stay tuned for that. And talk to you guys soon. Bye bye.
All right.